There's a lot of people that have come out of Manitoba as far as, artists, and where did you really cut your teeth as far as when you started getting a feel that this might actually happen for you? Like, woof,
I think
this is happening.
It had to be in Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be in Winnipeg. Gorilla, even though I was in a band before that called Jungle Milk, which was a world music band. And really, that was the most nurturing introduction that I could have ever had to being a vocalist in a group. It was a massive group of people. And, the repertoire was all over the place. It was music from dozens of cultures, and it was incredibly fun. And then being in Gorilla was very serious. I was very, very serious. I wanted to be accepted, as a female frontman. It was very important to me. And it was hard, of course, because I was in love with a drummer. And so navigating that, I thought, well, if this goes terribly, and it did eventually, I thought, I'm going to learn professionalism this way. I'm going to really learn it. And I did. And I have to credit those guys. And everyone went on to be very successful from Gorilla. Kent Jameson still works with NoFX and Pennywise and all that, all those bands. And same with Brett. I always call him Booby, so I was going to say Booby, he'll kill me. But he, works with all those guys doing just everything. Those guys do front of house, they do tour management, they do management. Randy Steffes was, stuck tour managing and then managing Green Day for a while. And then now, of course, he's in SNFU. It makes me laugh because it was, it was the most beautiful introduction into being in a touring band.
Did you, and of course the time, it's like make a demo and get it to the radio and then make a cassette and maybe get it on. I mean, much was rolling, but maybe get it on Good Rockin' Tonight.
Yeah. Well, we never had any of those aspirations with Gorilla. I mean, if we could get on college radio, Nardwar interviewed us and I was over the moon.
Yeah.
That was like, if we could get on college radio, we were just like, we would never have, everything else was dreaming. And once I got into Chrome Dog in Vancouver, that was a different story. We were going up and down the West Coast and playing in all the, all these dream venues, trying to get a record deal, actively pursuing getting a record deal. And that was a whole different animal. It was.
How much pushback were you getting as the female?
Tons.
Fronted. Like
it was amazing. And it's why I stopped drinking. The thing about it was there weren't a lot of girls that I knew of that were in other bands. And the girls that were there, were either accused of blowing the headliner or they were blowing them,
right.
And I didn't want that to ever be me, and I am a very, I was a very happy, friendly girl after a beer. And so I talk too much and laughing and all this stuff, and I would just lose my voice. So it was like, I don't ever want to be misinterpreted ever. So, in order for me to always maintain, just what I'm trying to project, just even backstage with all these other acts or this type of thing, I just couldn't drink. I just could not drink. And I, knew at the time, Try Pig was a straight edge, and we toured with the Wong. So he was a massive influence for me. And I was like, well, that's really cool. And he introduced me to Gail Greenwood from Belly, who at the time was in L7, and she had been a straight edge her whole life and the coolest person I ever met. So I was like, I can totally do this. I can totally do this. Henry Rollins, it was amazing to me at that time in my life. I had a huge crush on him. He drank coffee. So I thought, well, I can drink coffee if he does. Yeah. And that was it. I just didn't drink alcohol. I just never wanted to be misinterpreted as a female. And that's something that I, really took a lot of pride in. And, there's going to be the odd person that, assumed that I was there to, mess around with the headliner or whatever the case. There have been times when I wasn't allowed on the stage because security guards didn't know I was the singer. But I never took it personally. And I think that's the key. Now, young women take that stuff personally. And I know a lot of bands with young women fronting them who will walk off the stage if anyone yells anything derogatory at them. Mm-hmm. And that is totally their prerogative to do. I commend them. That's fantastic. Knock yourself out. That was not my generation. You know, we had to give them a knuckle sandwich.
Would you tell them to do that still? Would you tell them now to take that approach?
No,
or
I wouldn't tell them anything, you know, and I never did, you know, because now I mean, who am I to these young girls? I mean, what am I, an elder? Okay, well, you don't want me to be your elder because I had to fist fight in a mosh pit. You know, now, you know, people don't like doing that. I had to, you know, I had to listen to this stuff from the stage, and the show had to go on. I'm not going to get kicked off the bill for being, you know, for taking it personally and saying this fan or this audience member is a misogynist. No shit, he's a misogynist. Like, who? I don't care. It's not going to affect my show. It's just going to make me tougher and sound tougher. And, you know, I can't obviously admit to punching people in the front row. I can't admit that because, you know, who knows, sure. years later they sue you.
Right.
However, this was something that we were very inspired to do many times. I don't know. It's a different time. It's a different generation.
Yeah. And it comes with the whole, you hear about the, you know, the bands that trashed rooms. And even I think it's a famous story that Sum 41 were paid by the label to trash the room and film it.
I can't imagine that that's true. I don't even believe that stuff.
Just saying,
cannot see it.
You know, I've heard rumblings from members of the band that was the thing. And the interesting thing is that, but taking it back to Motley Crue, taking it back to all these bands, that were like, you know, fighting it. There was sort of like that roughness of like, well, you know, fighting with fighting with like the crowd and fighting for to have your voice heard. And it goes all the way back, like Joan Jett, it goes all the way back to anyone that's had to fight.
That's right.
And you know, in that regard. And I think that, it's a bit different now because now there's so many options for people to break that you don't necessarily have to claw and scratch anymore. You can just have a song in a Tide commercial and it's over.
It's very, very different today. But I think that's also our perception, because I can imagine that any young woman who wants to be the singer of a hardcore band today is going to be met with the same bullshit that we were met with as young women. And that's, you know, I don't know, you know, for us, it was a rite of passage, you know, for us to be able to get through a show successfully, triumphantly, you know, basically changing the mind of these, you know, audience members who didn't want to see a girl up there. And I used to say the only reason that they act like that is because they're not used to seeing a chick, you know, on the mic. At that time, there was no video channel. There was nothing like that. So the only time they saw a chick on the stage was strippers. And so they have no other way of reacting, you know, and that used to be how we justified it. And we would go, oh, poor little, you know, audience. They don't have any, you know, frame of reference. So we're just going to do what we do and be cool and give the best show we can give. And it's very difficult not to engage with a heckler for anybody. Any comedian will tell you that, and anybody will tell you that. It's very difficult not to do it. And it's difficult for any band not to engage with someone who is just trying to get a rise out of the band, or who's booing, or who is yelling derogatory remarks. But, you know, you get through it. You're triumphant. You're triumphant that show.
Thanks for stopping by, friends, to the Brenton on Tour podcast channel on YouTube. Coffee, music, travel, life, all of those things. One page, lots of guests, lots of chatter. We talk about all of it. If you like it, subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment. I'll get back to you. Thanks, friends. See you next time.